Have you ever looked in a mirror and thought, if only I could change this one thing about myself? If I could change that thing, then I'd finally be good enough. Yeah? Me too. And today we're diving into a topic that so many of us wrestle with, but rarely talk about. We're talking about body dysmorphia. We'll explore what it is, how it shows up in everyday life, and most importantly, what we can actually do about it. Along the way, I'll share some stories, a bit of science, and some tools that can help us move from self-criticism to self-compassion. Because our bodies aren't projects. They're partners in this messy, beautiful life that we are living. Team, welcome to the show today. This is Built Resilient, a show that is built resilient and also built just for you to level up your mental, emotional and physical resilience. My name is Bart Walsh. I am a fitness nerd. I'm also a motivational speaker, and I'm here to sit with you with some of the questions that we often think about, but very rarely speak aloud. And I'm so excited to be diving into today's topic because it is somewhat quite relevant and, to be honest, somewhat quite nervy to me too. If you are new here, it's so good to have you in the Built Resilient family. There's heaps of episodes in the past. There's a heap more coming forward. And if you do want to better yourself, listen to them all and reach out, ask your questions, send in your comments, hello@bartwalsh.com.au. Give us a 5-star rating and review, especially if you are on Apple Podcast. Spotify is cranking up the reviews. Apple Podcast is sliding behind. So if you've got an opportunity, hit that 5 stars. And team, it's time to talk about a topic that we probably never have talked about out loud. It's time to talk about body dysmorphia. Let's be brave and let's start by naming it. Body dysmorphic disorder, or BDD, is when someone becomes preoccupied with a perceived flaw in their appearance. And if I'm correct, it's actually a condition that needs to be diagnosed by a psych, by a therapist. So we might bandy this word around a lot, and I know in the fitness industry we do, including stuff like bigorexia, terms like that. But when it comes down to it, to call ourselves body dysmorphic, it needs to be diagnosed by a professional. And sometimes this thing that we focus on is tiny. It's invisible to anyone else. Sometimes it's something that isn't even there at all, and yet it can consume hours of thought, influence our behavior, even limit the way we engage with life. It can be, in some instances, absolutely and utterly debilitating. But here is the thing. It's not vanity. It hasn't got much to do with it at all. It's not superficial. This is pain. It's anxiety. And for a lot of us, it is also shame. Shame that whispers, you're not good enough until you fix this one thing. And I know for me, when I've wrestled with body image, it wasn't about the surface. It wasn't about how I looked. It was about whether I was worthy. And that's where that conversation has to start. Recognizing that body dysmorphia isn't about being shallow. It's about being human. I work in the fitness industry. I have for a very, very long time. And I've encountered people who have become obsessed over one physical feature, over multiple physical features. I have seen people become so obsessed with their health and fitness that they forget that they have a life outside of the gym. And I've seen this, and I've also felt it too. There was a period in my life where all I cared about was my fitness, not necessarily how I looked, although that was a part of it, but how I performed. And if I wasn't sleeping the right hours, eating the right macronutrients, training in the exact right program the right way, I, for whatever reason, was a failure. And I let that feeling, I let that thought control my life. So I went around for years thinking I was a failure in fitness, a failure in life, but also promoting health and fitness. I felt like such a charlatan. That was until I found love, until I found Jane and started a family and realized that life is it's so much more than that. Fitness and health plays a big role, absolutely. And in fact, fitness and health is the foundation of a good life, in my opinion. But it's by no means your life entirely. And you might be listening to this today and you might be in that world where fitness and health is your life. And if you are there, I always want you to keep an open mind. And I always want you to understand that life is more than biceps and abs. Life is more than just the highest VO2 max you can get and the lowest resting heart rate you can get. There is so much more than that. And hey, today might not be the day to completely turn that around, but I want you to understand that you are still worthy. No matter how you look, how you feel, what you eat, or how you perform, you are worthy. And look, to peel back the veil just a little bit more for you, my issue wasn't with how big my arms were, it was with how skinny my legs are. Now, for some of you that know my story, I have a nervous system condition. It's a condition that's eating away at my nerves. So my lower legs and one day my hands are slowly going to erode away. To what extent, we don't know. But at the moment, it leaves me with legs that are about the size of broomsticks. They're very skinny. And in a very aesthetically focused industry, I copped a lot of flack for my condition. And to be fair, I didn't know I had it when I copped most of this criticism, but it still hurt a lot. There was one instance in the gym where a bloke was following me with his camera, and he was filming how skinny my legs were. And I saw him. And look, I'm not a person who dives into conflict. I often try to avoid it like the plague. But I saw him filming me, and I lost my mind. I turned around to him and I slapped the phone out of his hand. I didn't touch him. And I told him to delete that because it was so disrespectful. And he was a bit taken away. He didn't think he was doing any harm. But that really hurt me. And then ever since that day, I've been ashamed of how skinny my legs are until maybe for the past few years. I was so ashamed for many years. I always wore pants. I always wore jeans because I didn't want people to see how skinny my legs were. But now I'm at a point in my life where I do the exact opposite. I've embraced them. I love them. I've loved my fate, if you've seen my 3 rules of resilience. And these are now my superpower. These are now my voice to the world to say, hey, I'm doing it despite my limitations. And you can think what you think, but I know how I feel. And I am worthy despite how I look. So look, you can tell this topic hits a nerve with me a little bit today. And it's making me do a bit more introspection than I initially thought for this episode, but I know it's something that a lot of people are dealing with, and just know if you are, I've dealt with it too, and that we can get through it together, and that you are worthy, you are worth more. I want you to think about this. For some people, a mirror isn't just a glass, it's a battleground. It's a mental, chaotic battleground. And every glance is a test. Do I measure up today? Am I enough? Every time you walk past a car window and you give yourself a flex to see how your arms are, it's just another check-in. Research shows that people with BDD, body dysmorphic disorder, spend an average of 3 to 8 hours a day obsessing over their perceived flaw. 3 to 8 hours. Now imagine what that does to your energy, your relationships, and your joy. And if you've experienced this, you don't need me to tell you just how exhausting it is. It takes up your entire day, your entire perspective. Here's the kicker though. Studies also show that reassurance from others rarely helps the situation. Someone says, hey, you're fine, you look great, you look huge, Bart. But your brain doesn't buy it. Because it isn't just a mindset, it's a misfiring in how your brain processes self-image. That doesn't mean that you're broken. It means that we just need different strategies. Self-image. Body image is a really interesting term. Because to me, body image is not self-image. They are two completely different things. You can still think of yourself very highly, but still have a very poor image, and vice versa. So that's a first step I want you to understand if you are going through this perception or this thought process, is that your body image does not define you. Separate the two. Your self-image is different from your body image. So where do we go from here? Well, like most things, it's pretty bloody complicated. And to be honest, I'm probably not the person to be giving you advice on this. If you are deep into BDD and you know you're obsessing over how your body looks, the best person you can reach out to is a therapist. I know it might seem a bit extreme, but I'm under the firm belief that most people in this modern world should be seeing a therapist at least once a week, just to get an objective measure and an objective person to talk to about everything that's going up in here. And by judging by the state of our mental health statistics, I think it should also be mandated. We need to be talking to people about how we feel, particularly when it comes to obsession over how we look. And the reason why this happens is because there is a mix of genetics, personality traits, and environmental factors. Perfectionism, high sensitivity to criticism, and cultural pressure all play a role in how we feel around body dysmorphia. And we can't ignore the world we're living in. Filters, highlight reels, comparison culture, it's a breeding ground for a dysmorphic mind. When Brené Brown, I love Brené Brown, when Brené Brown talks about shame, she says it thrives in secrecy and in silence. Body dysmorphia is like that. It feeds on us, not talking about it. Pretending everything is fine while we're at war with ourselves inside. That's why conversations like this matter so much. It's the same with conversations around infant loss and miscarriage. They're taboo subjects, but all of a sudden, once we air the conversation, we celebrate what's happened to us and we don't let it fester in silence and solitude. Okay, let me just calm down a little bit. I'm going to come down from the clouds. What can we do? What do we do if this is you or if this is someone you love? You see it in your partner, you see it in your work colleagues. The first step, I've already mentioned it, but it's the most important one and it'll be the hardest one for a lot of you, is to talk to a professional. Body dysmorphia isn't just about mindset, it's mental health conditioning. A therapist specifically trained in cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, can help you break obsessive thought patterns. For example, if you find yourself checking yourself out in the mirror 20 times a day, CBT might help you reduce that to 5, and then to 2, and then maybe just down to once when you're getting ready. And for some people, medication like SSRIs can also take the edge off that anxiety. Seeking help is not a weakness. It, my friends, is courage in action. The second thing we might consider doing is to practice mirror mindfulness. Instead of standing in front of a mirror and zooming in on the one flaw, try setting a timer for maybe 60 seconds or 30 seconds. Look at yourself as a whole person, not as a collection of parts. And then if it feels like too much, cover the mirror except for your eyes. And just connect with yourself looking straight into your eyeballs. Over time, this may teach your brain to see the bigger picture and not just see yourself as a bunch of parts. The third thing that might be worth considering is to shift the metric. And I love this tip for a lot of people. Move from how do I look to how do I feel and how am I living, how am I performing in, say, the gym. For example, instead of measuring success by whether your stomach looks flat, measure it by whether you have enough energy to take your kids to the park, or whether you feel strong walking upstairs without being winded. When your body becomes about experiences, not aesthetics, the whole game changes. And this is the one thing I try to impart on most of my clients within the Jets world and in past worlds, is that if we focus on performance, aesthetics will follow. If we just obsess on that number on the scale, the likelihood of us affecting it is low. But if we focus on us getting stronger, us getting more capable, us getting faster, us getting more enduring, all of a sudden our body will change physically to suit that performance outcome. And don't get me wrong, it is bloody hard. It's hard to flip that mindset, but it's one that will forever benefit you, because all of a sudden you're not just training for performance, but you're also eating to nourish that performance and recovering to nourish that performance too. We're not just obsessing about trying to shave off calories from our diet and burning as many calories as we can in the gym. It's a very nourishing and positive mindset to flip into. Number 4, I want you to find your people. Shame thrives in silence. I want to repeat that again. Shame thrives in silence. If you've been hiding your struggles, share them with a trusted friend, a support group, or even an online community who also are having issues with their body image. Hearing someone say, "Me too," is one of the most healing experiences that you will ever experience. Imagine the difference between thinking I'm broken versus hearing you're not alone, and you are not. Finding other people who are in a similar situation, or people who've gone through and come out the other side of a similar situation, can be the thing that gets you pointed in the right direction. And number 5, I want you to name what your body does for you. I want you to create a gratitude practice around your body. For example, my legs carried me through the day. My arms let me hug people that I love. My lungs kept me alive while I slept. I want you to write it down, say it aloud, and over time, gratitude starts to balance out the criticism. And again, if this is the thing that you go, there's no way I'm going to do that. That's far too soft. That's far too weak. It's far too small, far too petty. I want you to reconsider that thought, because nothing changes if nothing changes. And if you think stuff that works, like writing it down, is below you, we're not going to go anywhere. I'm big on journaling. I'm big on writing things down. I'm going to sincerely encourage you to do the same. And lastly, I want you to limit the comparison opportunities that are in your life, mainly to do with social media. I want you to curate your social media. If your feed is filled with people who trigger your body anxieties, I want you to unfollow them or mute them. Replace them with accounts that celebrate diversity in our bodies, strength, joy, and real life. One practical exercise is to ask, does this content make me feel inspired or inadequate? And if it's the second, if it's inadequate, I want you to hit unfollow. And so if you are listening and you are in this place, you're in this battle right now, here's what I want you to know. You are not your reflection. You are not the thing you pick apart in the mirror every single day. You are a whole, messy, worthy human being. And this fight isn't about perfection. It's about peace. So if today's episode hits home, I want you to maybe share it with someone you trust. And if you need help, please reach out to a professional, because life is too short to spend it at war with your own body. Timo, I started this podcast to broach questions that even make me uncomfortable, and this, surprisingly to me, is one of them. So I'm hoping you're taking something out of it, and I'm hoping you're taking something out of my own vulnerability too. And as mentioned, if you are in it, it's time for you to be vulnerable. If you know someone that has body dysmorphic tendencies, you can help them. And what might be a good opportunity is for you to share them this episode and empower them to make change and empower them to realize that they are worthy. Thank you for listening, team. As always, it's so good to be in your ear holes and your eye holes. I really appreciate the support I'm getting from this podcast. And if you do want to contribute, you know what to do. Write in hello@bartwalsh.com.au. Follow me on Instagram too, @walsh.fit. Everything filters through there in terms of the comms and what I'm doing. So, team, until the next time, remember to choose resilience.